T-Rex there with Ride a White Swan. And funny that if there's one person I could see riding a white swan, it would be Mr. John Mabberley. How are you, John?
I'm great, and I can't believe you said that because I just rode a white swan this morning.
Did you?
Unbelievable that you knew that. Can't believe it.
I know. I just got that vision in my head of you super tanned because you've been somewhere glorious for the last 6 months, it feels like to me.
It's only 3 weeks, but it was glorious.
Oh,
yes.
was it really? I must have missed you that much.
I know.
That's what it is.
I brought you a gift. More of that later.
Oh, really? Can't wait. Well, you have finally returned home to take part in our Upcycling Academy. Thank you very much indeed.
So, yes, I've been away, but I'm back and raring to go. And gosh, what fantastic weather. I'm looking out of the window, the sun's shining. I've still got shorts on. Where am I today? Glasgow!
Yay! Finally back in Glasgow. That's good. So we've got our Upcycling Academy. I'm intrigued by what you're going to come up with today if we're talking about white goods and household appliances. I've no idea how you upcycle them, but I'm sure you will enlighten me. You know, so upcycling white goods, John, I'm kind of puzzled by this one. I mean, you've got your old fridge, you pack it in, you take it to the dump, no?
Well, if it doesn't work, I mean, obviously the only reason you will keep something like that is if it still works. But if it is still working, it just needs a little bit of a facelift. Who doesn't? I would suggest, and I actually, when I moved into a flat when I was a student, there was a brown high-level cooker, which I decided, after a bit of investigation on safety and health, and I painted it with a grey Hammerite metal paint, which is great for surfaces that perform with hot and cold. And obviously I had no money, but it gave the kitchen I had a kind of more modern look rather than the brown high-level oven. So if you think about something that could do with a little bit of a facelift that's not going to damage the use of it, then yes, by all means, have a look at maybe painting doors, spraying the worktops. If you've got an old fridge and it's still working, think about maybe if you're very good with spray paints, doing it in a Union Jack, even just do something on the front of the door. But if you're feeling that you don't want to actually damage the surface because it's still got a little bit of life left in it, there are so many ways in which you can just hide them. Now, I used to love fridge magnets. Yep, I've said it.
Fridge magnets?
Fridge magnets.
You have gone down in my estimations, I have to say, John Mabberley.
Yes, but I'm thinking of the magnetic quality rather than what you're thinking. I'm not thinking I've had a fling of air.
No, or dance like nobody's watching, because I'm not keen on those.
No, I'm not keen on those either. But there are other ways in which, now, I love a little bit of storage. You could turn the face of your fridge into a chalkboard, a shopping list.
Right,
that would work well. Or, I know you've got hundreds of old photographs of us working on television together. You could take one of those and put a magnetic frame around that. Those are so cheap online. Put a nice picture behind it and make a little gallery on your fridge door. So there are 100 ways in which you could make any metallic door work really well. You could simply even put a magnetic hook on it for hanging little keys. It could be where all the family puts notes to each other.
That's a good idea.
You make it look like something that's used every day, like a blackboard or a chalkboard or a notice board or a gallery. Just keep it looking funky. And if it's old and tired, like myself, it needs a little bit of hiding.
But I mean, that does all sound great, and I know you're good at that stuff, but let's say you were going to repaint a fridge, and actually, when you think about it, those sort of funky fridges with, a sort of Hammerite finish, they're really expensive, aren't they? And the fridge bit's probably the same as any other one. But are you really going to get a professional finish, or is it just going to look a bit kind of naff?
Well, a good way of looking at these, and we kind of touched on this last week, if you're painting a kitchen cupboard door, if you can get the door to come off and you paint it flat, you're not going to get dribbles down the front of it. You'll get a nice matte finish. With Hammerite, sometimes if you get a little foam roller and you roll it on, it helps with the texture. Hammerite or any other paint that has a texture to it is probably better because you're going to get away with it being a little bit not perfect. But if you are feeling quite precise, I mean, something like the Union Jack with masking tape and taking time and masking properly, that's probably something more of a crafty task for someone that's a little bit more patient. But if you're giving it a one fell swoop, a couple of cans of like car primer or a spray paint for a car. You could make it look, as you said, like these Italian funky fridges that cost lots and lots of money. And even if you get another couple of years out of it while you're waiting to get the fridge of your dreams, it means it's looking a little bit better. You don't have to be too good a painter with spray paint. Lots of light swifts, just like a swan's feather, wafting over, wafting over.
You brought that back beautifully there, John, beautifully.
Thank you.
Yes. So if your fridge is defunct, I mean, I suppose a fridge is just a cupboard, isn't it?
Well, it's all about how it works, and the temperature. If it's a low freeze one, is it all the new technology, but it's all the gubbins behind it work. The front is really just the face, and that's where you, sadly, or sometimes if it is one of these lovely Italian-inspired ones or the German ones that you're paying for a 1950s fuchsia pink fridge, that's where you're spending your money.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking if it was gone, then could you repurpose that carcass of that or other? I mean, I was looking at this last night because I thought, what on earth are you going to do with all white goods? And you've got people doing stuff not just with fridges. I saw one bloke change the fridge into some kind of couch, which would be a major operation. But other people use them as storage space. Also, people repurposing like an old toaster. I think it was as a lamp, and also an old blender as a lamp. And actually, they looked really good.
Again, I think if you look at it and if you spray it and you make it look like a sort of graphic version of the purpose it used to be, if it was a toaster and all of a sudden it's a lamp, it can look funky. But even if you take things apart, I know a lot of people that go to scrap yards and buy the insides of washing machines and turn them into fire pits.
I saw that. That looked fantastic.
They are amazing. It's a little bit of work, and obviously watch yourself, keep yourself back from the flames and the heat when it's working, but they look amazing. And I've seen people even use them by putting containers inside them. We talked about old plant pots before. You could use that as an inner liner, and they look like really funky, high-tech, gloss, chrome planters.
Yeah. And I saw other ones used as sort of garden side tables and things like that, and they looked absolutely brilliant. It's just a whole new way of looking at the ordinary things around your house, and I guess that is what upcycling is all about.
Absolutely.
So Mother's Day coming up on Sunday, John.
Yes.
Money is tight, as we know, so any hints on what we could put a smile on Mummy's face with not costing too much money?
Well, I think because we're all about, and I was loving listening to that story about Kevin and his Italian family. I've got lots of Italian family as well, with lots and lots of old photographs of Italian relatives. You could photocopy them, tear them into a little bit of pieces, and do a decoupage, one of Linda Barker's old favourites, where you take like an old shoebox, or you take something that's maybe had a better life, an old jewellery box, and with watered down PVA glue, you could make a really lovely decoupage, built up layers of all these lovely memories and family photographs. And sometimes you don't want to tear up an old photograph, but you could do a little collage and photocopy it cheaply yourself. But equally, again, you could do the fridge thing, make a nice frame to put on the fridge of a family portrait. I think it's all about sentiment. I am, as you know, the biggest mummy's boy in the world.
You
so
are.
I am mummy fodder. So I think, anything that's got sort of sentimental value. But I've done things in the past where money has been a bit tight. Got an old picture frame or a mirror from a charity shop, got the glue gun out, even got some polyfill out and created a lovely shell inspired frame around it for the bathroom mirror. It's about ways of looking at things, and often we do collect the odd shell from the beach. Please don't take beautiful large shells off the beach. Number one message there. But you can buy little craft bags and even like recycled and old shells and use those to adorn either boxes or frames or lamp bases or old wine bottles or things you could turn into lovely vases. It's about looking at different things, but I think it's the sentimental handcraft value of things that I think people really, really like just now.
Oh, yeah, it 100% is. I mean, who hasn't got, the terrible old teapot that your child painted, when they were like 4, and it was absolutely hideous. We thought, I love that, I really do. So did Mummy Amabile always encourage little John's crafting?
She did, yes. She's quite a crafty lady herself, and she's quite persnickety about things. I remember once I made something that she didn't like, and it was a little bit of a downer on me. I think I was a little bit older, and I'd got an old sort of china teacup, and I'd made from tissue paper a little posy of flowers to put inside, and I think that might have just been a little bit too crafty for her, and she knew I could have done better. So maybe she egged me on to be a little bit better. But yes, I have crafted a lot of things. I was actually a big knitter whilst at college, and I got big knitting needles 5 times the size of normal ones, and got string and made these big macrame plant holders, which I think she put in the garage and they rotted and they were thrown out 10 years later. Thanks, Mum.
That sums you up. Bigger needles than anybody else.
The biggest needle in the country.
Do you want to make the confession about your paperweight kit?
I suppose I better get it off my chest. My mum doesn't really like me doing anything too crafty, and she did have a lovely, it was a wedding present, teak dining table, and I was very crafty. I had Mako models, I had anything to do, I loved Lego, anything to do with making things when I was a young boy, and this thing was called Plasticraft, and you could make paperweights, and I very, very carefully laid out all the weights, put the moulds out, put the background colour in, put the shell in, put the little bit of seaweed in, put the top clear gel on, let it set, and it set beautifully to the tabletop itself. So after a right good, because you could then got a little bit of a verbal and probably quite a bit of a physical battering sent to my bunk bed, which I probably turned into a caravan of despair. And there we go. Wasn't really allowed to do anything that was too over the top crafty again. Did it stifle my creativity? No, it did not.
Oh, no, it did not. John, thank you very much. That's been a treat. Off to your bunk bed now, John.
That's it. Just call me Gypsy. Gypsy the Swan Boy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.